Good afternoon. A new poll taken by the Jewish Electorate Institute came out with results that were quite disturbing and shocking, although buried in many of the media reports. But in the report, 28% of Jews in America said that Israel is an apartheid state. 38% of Jews under 40. 23% of Jews said that Israel is a genocide. Israel is creating genocide against the Palestinians, and shockingly, a fifth of young American Jews said, 20% of young American Jews said that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. Could you imagine? We're not talking about a poll taken in Abu Dhabi or a poll taken in Saudi Arabia or Egypt. We're talking about a poll taken in the United States of America, of not the whole country, but of Jews. And in that poll, 20% of young American Jews said that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. And 38% of young American Jews said that Israel is an apartheid state. How could that happen? And what does that say about us? What does it say about the education we are giving our children? You know, we're in the period of the 9 days, the mourning period for the destruction of the temple. And why is it called the 9 days? Of course, it's called the 9 days because from the beginning of the month till Tisha B'Av is 9 days. But what's the spiritual significance to it? Everything has a spiritual significance. And the Kabbalah says something very powerful. The Kabbalah says that, as we know, there are the 10 Sfirot, which make up the human condition, starting with kindness, with Chachma, which is wisdom and knowledge and understanding and love and strength and awe, etc., etc. The last of the 10 Sfirot is Sfirat HaMalchut. Sfirat HaMalchut means royalty, and it represents inner strength of the human being, confidence in who you are, knowing that within you is a divine soul and that you are connected to the Creator. Says the Kabbalah that this is the 10th of the Sfirot, that when a person only has 9 Sfirot, and he's missing the 10th, which is Malchus, which is that inner strength and confidence in who he is and what he represents, that brings along calamity. That brings along destruction. And that's why there's 9 days of mourning, because it's a symbolism to the 10th Sephirah that's missing, the Sephirah of Malchut, of royalty, of confidence in who we are and what we represent. I think about the fact that 20% of American Jews could, under the age of young Jews, could think that Israel doesn't have the right to exist, their own people, yet every other country, not only do they have the right to exist, but they'll come and they'll fight for them. And they'll stand up for them. Where is the Malchut? Where is that endurance, that royalty, within us of knowing who we are and what we represent? You know, the Midrash says a fascinating thing. That the Jews came back on the 9th of Av, when God sent Moses to send spies to spy the land of Israel. The Jews came back on the 8th of Av. And the 9th of Av, the Jewish people cried and they said, no, we can't go into the land of Israel. We'll never be able to conquer it. We don't want to go. And the Midrash says something fascinating. That God said, aha, you guys cried for no reason. When I told you could go, when I told you I'll look after you, when I told you everything will be again, you cried. I will make this day a day of crying for generations. Lidorot. Because you cried for no reason when I told you to go into Israel and I sent spies, I will make it a B'chiyah Dorot, a day of crying for eternity. And of course, so many calamities befell the Jewish people on the 9th of Av. But the question is, Why? Is that fear of God just because they cried irrationally and for no reason? That's why God should punish them, that this should be a day of crying for eternity? Why? Imagine if your kid comes home one day and cries about a lollipop. Says, I want a lollipop, I want a lollipop. And you tell the kid to stop crying and he doesn't. And you tell your kid, you know what? You cried for no reason? I'm going to make sure you cry for real reasons. What kind of thing is that? And the answer, of course, the Rebbe teaches us, is that it wasn't a punishment. It was God telling them what's going to happen because of the character they had. Think about it this way. The generation that was supposed to go into Israel, they cried because they were scared. They said, we just left Egypt. They were fearful. How are we going to conquer the land of Israel? If there was ever a generation that witnessed more miracles and more blessings of God, if it was the manna, if it was the splitting of the sea, if it was the well of Miriam, if it was the clouds, if it was the giving of the Torah, if there was ever a generation that witnessed more miracles and had more of a reason to believe in God when God told them they're going to go into the land of Israel, it was that generation. Yet, what happened? Fear overcame them. Fear is irrational. Fear doesn't always have common sense to it and logic. It didn't make sense for them to be fearful because God had come through in every single way for them. Yet they were still fearful. And here you had the people crying that they didn't want to go into Israel. God says, if you're going to let fear overcome you, then calamities will come to you. If this is who you are, that you're going to cry when God is promising you, where's your faith? Where's your connection? Where's your inner pride and hope in fulfilling what God said? So God says, you're going to cry today. I see more cries going to come. FDR was 100% right when he said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself. If there's ever a generation today that should support the land of Israel, if there's ever a reason for the Jewish people to support Israel, how much more so now than ever? A time when we witness anti-Semitism over the world, when we know that there's only one place that stands for us, that will always be a safe haven for a Jew to go no matter what. A generation that has witnessed so many miracles, the reunification of Jerusalem, the 6-Day War, the Yom Kippur War, in Tebbe. A generation like this, 20% of the young Jews saying that Israel doesn't have the right to exist. I'm not here just to complain, because every problem has a solution. And really the fault might lie with us that are listening here today, because we care, and we believe, and we love, and we know. So we have to work on our malchut. We have to work on our 10th Sefirah to recognize and to inculcate within ourselves and our families and our communities the divine gift within each and every one of us. Our connection to the land of Israel and our pride for being Jewish and for celebrating our Judaism and for standing up to the Jewish people. It's not a lost faith, because within every challenge is a lot of opportunity. And if we nurture and educate, first with ourselves, then with our families, then with our communities, we will succeed. As FDR said, there's nothing to fear, only fear alone. If we're not fearful, then we won't cry. And we will celebrate who we are. And we will bring out our 10th and most beautiful Sefirah. And may this be a time of nurturing and education for the Jewish people of the gift that God gave us, the Holy Land of Israel. God bless you and have a great day.